Prepare a boarding party. Shuttle, no transporters.
Coming up, Picard and the crew of the Titan try to fight off a deadly siege as Vadic leads a boarding party to capture Jack Crusher.
Would you like to hear more about where my appetite for your brutal, inevitable extinction comes from?
Lore completely sabotages Picard's efforts to defeat Vadic.
Captain, we're losing control of our ship's security system.
Get the force fields back now. God damn it, Lord!
Jack Crusher telepathically takes control of Sidney's body to give her superior fighting skills.
Jack, what should I do? Jack!
Turn around. Roll.
And Vadic reveals the shocking, unbelievable origins of the highly evolved changeling mimics.
All I can tell you is, when we are done with all of you, death will come as a relief.
And one of 7 of 9's former Voyager crew members puts her intellect to the test.
All this and more.
Coming up on the Star Trek Picard edition of Energize.
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 We're jumping to warp speed with Jean-Luc Picard and the Star Trek Next Generation crew.
You're listening to Energize, a Star Trek Picard podcast, your source for in-depth analysis, colorful debate, and exciting discussions about the final adventure of Admiral Jean-Luc Picard and the Enterprise D crew. I'm your host, Anthony McLemore.
And I'm Steve Truitt. This week, Picard lures Vadic into a trap aboard the Titan as a fight breaks out between forces when Lore unceremoniously intervenes.
Can Picard and the Titan crew stop Vadic from taking control of the ship?
And will Lore's meddling ensure Picard's defeat?
Here's a warp speed recap of Star Trek Picard Episode 7, Dominion.
Frontier Day is almost upon us. We must have the boy.
Prepare a boarding party. Jack, move.
Run! Deck 14, ready Delta and Echo.
We're gonna transport you out of there. Get a lot. Something's interfering with the transporter.
Captain, we're losing control of our ship's security system.
Get the force fields back now. God damn it, Lord!
Picard Shaw, Vadic and her men are proceeding across Deck 9. Don't let them reach the bridge access lift.
On it. Engaging fighters.
They're here. Weapons ready. Attention, crew of the Titan.
I am Vadic.
Captain of the USS Titan.
I warned you. It would end this way.
All right, so the show starts with the Titan hiding in a scrapyard, and you hear this whistling of 3 blind mice, and I thought it was really kind of creepy and eerie.
It's a great way to start. We don't know who's doing it, but to see how they run, and it's all that song always is a terror song for me, even though most kindergartners think it's great,
Yep. And so we go to the bridge, and 7 is in the captain's chair, and she's talking to Tuvok. So I'm just like, awesome. We get Tuvok
right away.
From Voyager.
Right away, I'm like, oh my God, I was so excited. And I'm thinking to myself, Beverly Crusher said in the beginning, trust no one. And yet we're seeing all of these old friends, and I'm thinking, okay, well, at least we can trust our old friends. And it was great to see him.
When was your last contact with Admiral Janeway?
Not recently. However, I assume she's preoccupied with the logistics of Frontier Day, as we are a mere 36 hours from the festivities. The entire fleet is assembling an assault system as we speak.
Yep, and so she's asking about the whereabouts of Riker, and, no one has seen him. And so the elephant in the room, of course, is, can we really trust Tuvok? Is Tuvok a changeling? And so 7 puts him to the test.
They're doing this kind of voice analysis. They've got off to the side in the science station, and every so often it pings, yes, it's correct, but then also every so often it'll ping inconclusive, and you're like, oh, interesting.
Yep. And so Seven smartly, throws out something that's a test that maybe that Tuvok, only Tuvok would know. And so she refers to a game that the two of them used to play, and he passes that test. So I'm like, all right, you see her relax.
So based on that, we all have kind of dropped our shoulders and we feel better. And Tuvok wants to arrange a in-person meeting so they can talk about stuff.
Yeah, and so Seven suggests going to this particular planet, and she said, yeah, that's where I got my, I had to have some neural fixes done. And he says, absolutely.
Yep. And she's like, Vulcan would never go there due to the anti-Kolinar demonstrations. I just love how they just throw in so much red meat for all of us. Like, we all know what Kolinar is, which is the purging of emotion. And if they're anti-Kolinar, no Vulcan would ever go there.
Yep. And on top of that, and on top of that, she's like, when I had this procedure done, my friend did that, and that was you.
Right.
And I was, and I was just like, in the words of Dave Chappelle, gotcha, bitch.
So immediately he smiles, and we know he's a changeling. And it's like, okay, so what have you done to Tuvok? Because, how would he know the first test? Like, oh, yes, you always used to beat me at that game. Are they torturing Tuvok? Would a Vulcan speak during torture? Would he talk?
Well, everybody has their breaking point, and it's clear that they've been putting pressure on him.
God, that's really scary. He's one of my favorite characters. And to think that he would break is terrible.
Oh, yeah. So clearly he has broken to some degree. And basically this changeling assures everyone that we've broken him. And when we're done, we're going to break all of you.
Yeah. Yeah. And they're like, where's Riker? And he changes into Riker. And he's like, I promise you he's as good as dead, just like Picard and everyone else will be. And it just sent a chill down my spine. I'm like, they're really tripling down on this. I mean, the Borg was always such a bad enemy, and we were all so scared of them. But these changelings are scaring the crap out of me.
Of course, because they are one of us. They could be anybody, anyone, or anybody, and that's pretty daunting. And it really makes me feel hopeless because you're up against an enemy that's amongst you, and that's a very hard thing to overcome when you don't know who the enemy actually is.
They confirm there's no mention of Will in custody. Damn it. They're on their way back here now. And not a moment too soon. Short of junkyards like this, I'm running out of places to hide us.
So then the surprise moment where Geordi's like, listen, maybe we should just accept the inevitable. And I'm wondering, like, well, what's the inevitable? Surrender?
Yeah, that threw me for a loop. And then I watched it again, and maybe, I took it a different way. Maybe he was just saying maybe we should accept, and then Picard says that we're all alone.
Yeah, I think that may be what it is. Like, we can't ask for help. They've tried different ways. Now Riker's captured. Tuvok is probably, if not dead, definitely on his way out. They keep mentioning Janeway throughout the entire series, right? So it's like, we haven't seen Janeway yet. Is she going to be one of them? This is scary.
Oh, very scary. So the odds are stacked against us, and it really puts us in a perilous situation, which I love because we all feel it. We all feel like, oh my God, this situation is pretty damn hopeless, and we just got this one ship, one group of people that are here that are left to save the whole entire Federation. So really good.
Targeting a species on biology alone is tantamount to genocide.
Like the virus used against them in the Dominion War.
Exactly. I know we're desperate, but I am concerned about crossing a line.
Well, see what you can find. We'll weigh the morality if and when this becomes actual.
So we come back, and Picard and Beverly and Geordi they're sitting in the ready room, which, by the way, was a beautiful shot because they shoot it from the outside, and you can see I love how they do this. You can see the scale of the ship with the people, and it's just, what they're doing visually is so gorgeous.
Very nice touch. It makes it more tactile.
Yeah, very much so. And we find out that Worf and Raffi are actually off the ship monitoring fleet security, and there's no mention of Riker being in custody. And suddenly, where we had Riker, Worf, and Raffi, all over the place, now they're just gone in this episode. It's a little strange to me. It feels vacuous. It makes me sad.
Yeah, but I guess, they were able to concentrate on a few things and a few points that they needed to get across, because we do have a lot of characters on the ship now with the addition of Geordi and Data Lore. And
Data Lore B4.
Yeah, there you go. But, Geordi reminds them they're running out of places to hide. And, and Beverly's sitting there and she's grappling with a moral dilemma.
Do I break my Hippocratic oath? Do I say do no harm no longer means anything to me in this time of war? And it's a great question, and frankly, based on Beverly's character, to me it's something I never thought I would hear her say, and I like that.
Yeah.
They have her wrestle with that throughout the entire episode.
Yeah, and this is what got us into the situation in the first place in the first Dominion War when Starfleet generated this virus. Now, I mean, I can't fault them for going to the extremes because the Dominion was kicking their ass. And so what do you do when you face extinction? You end up reaching for things or doing things that you wouldn't normally do just to save you, because if you lose everything. You're dead. And so but they did give them the antidote to it. So I found that okay, but it does relate to what we do today. It goes back to that whole atomic bomb thing into Hiroshima and Nagasaki. So it's relatable.
Yeah, it is. And don't forget, too, in a way they set a virus through the Borg Collective with Hugh. Remember, they sent Hugh back. They were going to submit an algorithm that was a constant loop that would shut them down completely, but they decided against that because they thought it would be immoral. So what they did instead was they just sent back a self-conscious Hugh, who actually did kind of spread that through the Borg, and we see that later in the first season of Picard.
Yeah, it's a great moral dilemma, and it really makes, I think, us as viewers really think about it. How far do you go?
And this takes us back to Gene Roddenberry's Star Trek. To dovetail what you just said, how far do you go? We are a peacekeeping armada. Do we destroy civilizations for our own safety? And it's a tough question.
It's a tough question, but you can be peace-loving and then your people are all extinct. I think, so at a certain point, you got to make decisions.
I'm pro-virus, believe me. I'm pro-virus.
My participation as an admiral in the fleet exercises requires genetic confirmation of my identity.
Considering the theft of your body from Daystrom, I'm wondering if they're not trying to use yours and maybe even Jack's DNA to create some kind of perfect doppelganger Jean-Luc Picard.
So the three of them are trying to surmise why Picard's body has been taken from the Daystrom station and why they're after Jack. And so they're trying to. I think Geordi really comes up with a really creative idea. Maybe they're trying to come up with a doppelganger Picard because Picard was supposed to speak at Frontier Day, so they really go through really strict protocols to make sure that it's him.
Yeah, and it was funny to me because I had glossed over in episode 6 that it was his body they stole, and it makes me ask the question, why were they preserving his body in the first place? What was it that they needed from him? I mean, don't you usually bury a captain, admiral? Don't you cremate? Like, isn't it a little creepy that they kept his body in the first place?
I mean, yes, and then I can see why Section 31 would want to keep his body, because you want to know how Borg technology works within the body and how they're able to do the things that they do.
Yeah.
And so I can see why maybe they would keep it. It is kind of creepy because the man who inhabited that body is still around.
Right, and he can look at himself. But remember what I said at the very beginning. I think this all does come back to Borg technology. I really do. I think the linchpin here is Borg, but we'll see.
Right, and I'm with you because I'm not sure that this is what it is, because the Changelings have already succeeded in getting past biosecurity scans, so it's got to be something else.
Yeah. And they still want Jack. And so they need more info also from. They're like, Geordi says there's one person who can help us, maybe surmise what's going on, and that's the Data Lore B4 product.
I'm no longer on the Enterprise. The Scimitar.
That was many, many years ago.
That would explain why you're so old. Time has been very cruel to you.
And here's the problem.
Yep. And so we go there, and they Geordi reactivates him just cognitively, so no movements here.
From the neck up.
From the neck up. Kind of like Futurama style.
Yes, exactly.
Yep. And so I'm just like, okay, this is not going to be good. It's just not. It can't lead to anything good because lore. Anytime lore is in the picture, it's gonna go wrong. It's gonna go wrong.
Sure, he's the Loki of Star Trek, and I always liked lore, not because he was a anti-hero kind of guy or whatever he is, a troublemaker, but I love watching Brent Spiner do his best work, which is playing two characters, and in this case, two characters simultaneously, switching back and forth, and what he does with his face. I never thought Brent Spiner, was, the greatest actor on the planet, but boy, he sure nails this in this episode. I think he just does an incredible job.
Yeah, 100% with his multiple personality disorder. So, great job on Brent Spiner's part. And so Picard, wants to know, why the changelings want his body. And, trying to inquire when you're dealing with switching back and forth between data and lore is just a real serious pain in the ass.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they
and Lord just keeps lobbing these insults at Picard. Like, well, I don't know, why would they want this scraggly old ancient flesh? Whatever he says, it's just so fantastic.
Yeah, insults Geordi. Like I said, apple falls from the tree.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just really good stuff. And I do like that part of lore is that he's a dick, and he can totally. It makes it fun. Even though I can't stand lore, I do like the fact that he makes this interesting. And I think this was a great way of bringing back data in this form because it opens up a new lane to explore.
Well, what it does is it forces the question to me. There was, the end of season 1, they did something beautiful and, in my opinion, something stupid. They made Picard a synthetic human, which I still, and I keep saying this, will not forgive the writers for doing, because I think he should have died of Irumodic syndrome at the end of season 3, which is now. But that's neither here nor there. But the most beautiful thing, and one of the most beautiful scenes in Star Trek, was when Picard watched Data die, and he's like, "Please, I want to die. It's part of my experience." So why is he back? I thought he died. How is it that Data is there?
Yeah, well, he had copied himself.
Well, he copied himself, or someone else did?
No, he did when he was trying to do before. Yeah. But it's a version of him up to that point.
Okay, I see.
Yeah.
Oh, that's why when he wakes up, he's like, "Where am I? The ship." And he's like, "No, that was 20 years ago."
Yeah, exactly. So it's Data, but an earlier version of Data. Yeah. But I surmise that when these two entities mix, it'll become a completely different person.
Well, he may become human after all.
Yeah, exactly.
Tell me why the changelings have stolen my body. What might they be using it for?
Extraction. Sung research indicates an anomalous form inside Jean-Luc Picard. Previous diagnosis of aromatic syndrome is in question.
What is it?
So Data takes control and reveals that there's an anomaly within Picard's old body. So, of course, that's going to be revealed later. Our bets are on the Borg tech, but it may be something else. They keep giving us surprises.
Well, remember the Irumodic syndrome too, which was, I love that they brought that back, but maybe he never had Irumodic syndrome. Maybe it is the Borg tech. Maybe it is something like that. We'll find out.
Yeah. So this is really tough on Picard, and he wants, to cut him off because it's just too much, because Data, says, "Help me." He's struggling, clearly struggling, and that part is painful.
Yeah. I love how everyone reacts to him, and we realize, Data and Geordi, by the way, and we'll talk about this a little later, my two favorite characters in TNG, and just to see them all interact with Data and how much they really loved him is beautiful.
Yeah, very much so.
The associates of Jean-Luc Picard were unexpectedly firm in their loyalty in him. I don't anticipate them breaking in the time we have left.
They must.
So we go to the Shrike, and Vadic is talking to her Changeling commander, or whoever she's taking orders from, and
her handler. Get it?
Her hand puppet commander.
Hand puppet handler.
Yeah, that's a good way of saying it. And he's not happy. He is pissed because Vadic's like, listen, you know, everybody's rallying around Picard, and he turned out to be a little more formidable than we anticipated.
Yeah. And he's just like, get this done. You need to figure this out. You have to capture Jack.
Yep, and he exerts his will or force on her and basically tortures her and basically explains that, you're not that unique. Yeah, you may be a little different from us, which is planting seeds, of course. You're a little different. Your physiology is a little different. But we can still jack with you.
Yeah, I like that. And it's funny because... the only time that she sees him is when she goes to that round table and bring him up. It's like, what if she just didn't talk to the guy? Would he still show up, right?
Yeah, so it's a really, really good question, but it's the one person that she, is fearful of and kneels down to. So we got to go get Jack. So that's what we're going to do.
Those eyes. He is charming. Please be subtle first. Touch my hand.
We catch Jack and Sidney LaForge are in the turbo lift together, and there's a brewing sexual tension there.
I like it. I think they're cute. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of Jack Crusher because he's the new guy and he needs to have a few miles on the road before I really accept him. But there he is, and definitely they do like each other. But he's kind of that Hugh Grant character from 4 Weddings and a Funeral, where he's very self-effacing and he's all shy. It's like, dude, just ask her out. You're a space pirate. You should have more confidence in this.
Yeah.
But a weird thing happens is that he starts to hear her thoughts, and it's like, wait, what? He can hear her thoughts?
Yeah. Is he into me?
Yeah, because he's like, do you want to go to my quarters? Because he's making some small talk about quarters. She's like, well, I'm in the lower decks, so to speak. And he's like, well, I've got a nice quarters. You should come see mine. And she's like, why doesn't he do something subtle, like hold my hand or touch my hand? But she's thinking that, and he hears it.
Yeah, and even Jack is thrown back by it. It's not something that he just obviously hasn't happened before.
Yeah. Yeah, but this is very real. So he kind of puts his hand next to hers, and the turbolift door opens, and she's like, I gotta go.
And she's like, why did you touch my hand? Because clearly that was her thought.
Yeah.
It happened, and you put 2 and 2 together, and it's like, what the hell's going on? So now we're weirded out here.
Yeah, so she gets off the turbolift and asks that question, and then just before it closes, you see all the vines, the red vines, growing in the walls, and it's just like, what is going on? And here we are at episode 7. We got 3 more to go to the end of this entire thing, and we still don't know who Jack is. I know they're playing it out, but it just feels a little too long at this point to me.
Yeah, well, I figure it's going to happen in episode 8, but we'll get there. We'll get to that point.
Okay.
But the thing is, we're thinking that it's a Borg speaking to him, but now he's he can hear other people's thoughts. So it kind of wrecks a little bit of my theories because I'm like, okay, well, what is he?
Yeah. Well, listen, my theories are out the window too. I thought Moriarty was behind all of this Vadic stuff, so that was wrong. I thought that Laura was behind it. As far as I know, that's wrong.
Yep,
so
but I think this is good writing.
All my brilliant theories are wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're throwing us off. It's fantastic.
They're throwing us off, and I think that's a testament to the writing. It's not predictable because they're throwing wrenches back and forth, and they're throwing us off. So I like it, and it's really, really cool.
Sirs, this is a compromised prefix code.
What's a compromised code?
It's a code that a captain in distress can give that will ping his designated starship. It will give the enemy the location of the ship, but it lets us know that the captain's been caught.
Jack is weirded out, so he goes to the bridge to talk to Picard, but they're interrupted because a trace signal comes in.
Yeah, and so she, and here's another throwback. I mean, there are so many Easter eggs in every episode. I'm going to get diabetes from all the chocolate. Thank you, everyone. Good night. Seven recognizes that it's a compromised Starfleet prefix code. Now, we know the prefix code from what?
Ooh, you got me on this one. Go ahead.
Oh, Anthony, I should have prepared you. From Star Trek II, Wrath of Khan, when the Intrepid, not the Intrepid, excuse me, when the Reliant is facing off with, and they have to lower the shields, and they talk about a prefix code that every captain has for his ship. That's what that is. It gives the location of the ship, where it is, and so forth. And Riker has sent a prefix code, and they realize he's on the Shrike.
Yep. So now we know where Riker is, and so that's setting the stage. And so Jack asks for a word with his dad, and he basically spills out that something's wrong with him.
Good scene, and I was a little surprised that they did it. He says that letting the Shrike find them, and he can trade himself for Riker. All of that seems sudden, but I realized that two things could be happening here. One, Jack is actually a chip off the old block from both his mother and father, and he's got a conscience. And or two, he knows he can kick ass. Maybe a prisoner exchange sends him over and has him kill everybody because he knows he can do it. So I was curious there why he was doing it.
Yeah, I think it was more about the nobility. He's really caring about everybody because you're seeing him change through this process. And he can kick ass, but I don't think he can kick everybody's ass. He is still one man. But it's not a good idea because once he's in their hands, whatever their plan is would be complete. And so I think it's not a good idea, and Picard rejects it. Yeah.
So he makes it bigger than that. He's like handing him. I'm gonna pick that up. He makes it bigger because handing him over could help destroy the Federation, and that's what's at stake here. It's always what's at stake with Star Trek, but I've never felt it more than this. And again, I feel bad now for not watching Deep Space Nine all those years ago. Because there's so much of the Dominion in this.
Yeah, it was really good. Once I told you before, once the Dominion War started, Deep Space Nine was on point.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry that I missed that. Because I'm missing out on a lot of context that I think I would really enjoy. So I'm as punishment, I'm going to go back. Well, not punishment, but as penance, I'm going to go back and watch Deep Space Nine.
There you go.
I don't really know what's going on with me, but I know it isn't anything good.
Tell me.
Well, I've caused all of this.
But Jack finally says he's always felt that there was something wrong with him, that he hears things, and his dad is like, "Look, I'm not going to give up on you, and
you shouldn't give up on yourself.
You don't give up on yourself, and I'm here for you." And boom, what do we have? Father and son.
Yep. So that's building. I'm glad to see that, and that's good for him. That's good for Picard. So it's a good thing.
Jack's alive. Slippery. Subspace transmissions.
So we get back to the Shrike. We see the Shrike drop out of warp. It's I forgot. Let me drop back. So yeah, I'm coming off of you saying it's a good deal.
Yes.
But so Picard, isn't that where he gets he figures out something?
Yeah, they've never had the advantage. I could do that.
Yeah, please.
Excuse me. So once that bonding is bonded, Jack is like, "Look, we've never had the advantage here," and Picard is like, "Well, you know what? I actually think I have an idea to catch Vadic," and I love that kind of setup. Because you go to commercial and you're like, what is it? What is it? What is it? So I just love when they do that kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Prepare a boarding party. Shuttle, no transporters.
He's right there. Right there. I can almost touch him.
Yeah, so we come back and we're going to find out how this plan, because obviously there's some kind of plan that's going to be executed. Yeah. So we see the Shrike drop out of warp. The Titan looks dead amongst the junk of another ship. I guess it was a Vulcan ship. And I'm already like, I like this idea. We're doing the old possum routine.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's the rope-a-dope in a way, isn't it? It's they're like, oh, I'm up against the ropes. Nothing's happening. Our power's down. And they're like, warp core's down, the little minions that work for Vadic. And they're monitoring subspace frequencies, and they pick up this message that says that there was a battle between the Titan and this Vulcan ship, and that's what disabled the Titan, which is an interesting thing because that didn't really happen.
Exactly. And Vadic's men warn her that this could be a trap, but Vadic's under pressure. Right. She's got the
hand boss.
Yeah, hand boss. Hand boss has his hand or foot on her neck, and she's got to act now, or she's going to be destroyed, basically. And so she decides to board the ship, and I'm like, this is going to be freaking awesome. Hand-to-hand combat.
And the only reason that makes sense to me, because in the beginning she had all the advantage. Remember, she was so scary because she could follow them through the nebula. They're like, how is she doing all this? What's happened in her arc that I love is that she has become reckless and stupid because this handler is forcing her into becoming desperate. And that's where she's like, we're going to go over there and fight. And that never works well when you become desperate. So, yeah, she goes over there. And they are walking in this really dark hallway. And who's the first person they see? Jack. And I'm thinking, is he a hologram? What's going on? Nope, it's Jack Crusher.
Yep. And, Vadic's like, come with me. I'll take you to a better place. And then Jack's like, well, you got to catch me first. And so the chase begins. And so we're all running through corridors. Sidney's there. They're luring the soldiers as corridors with force fields are trapping the men. And so it's kind of like they're forcing them through a maze and pushing them in the directions that they want. So I'm like, okay, so this was the plan. So we're guiding everybody to a certain place. And so it ends up Jack and Sidney both get trapped at this junction. With 3 corridors where the force fields are keeping Vadic's men away from them, but they're trapped. They can't go anywhere. They need to be beamed out.
Alpha, go!
Drop Bravo!
Go.
Dropping Bravo.
And this whole thing was coordinated from the bridge with
Shaw
and Seven, raising and lowering, the force fields, A, B, alpha, beta, whatever it was. Yeah, so they're trapped, and Geordi tries to beam them out, but he can't. Why?
Lore.
What a jerk. You're a jerk, Lore.
Yeah. And so I'm just like, well, okay, this is all going to hell, so here we go.
And I think we saw this coming. My only question is, if they had shut him down from the neck down, how was he able to get free and do this?
Hey.
And lore finds a way.
Lore finds a way. And so now we have some big revelations that are coming. And I just was so excited about the sequence that happens next.
You are the one who has been hunting us all this time. You must really want my son. Aren't you adorable? I was under the impression this would be more of an interrogation. Only now, it seems you've given up your endgame before the start.
So Vadic gets trapped in sickbay, and Beverly, wants to know why she's coming after her son.
Right, and she does the same thing she did in the beginning. She talks about the Hippocratic Oath and how she's starting to rethink it. And it's interesting to me that she's being that vulnerable in front of Vadic, because what's Vadic going to do? She's just going to taunt Beverly back.
Oh, and I loved it. Her performance was just wicked.
Yeah, she was great here because, we'll walk through this, but a lot of things happen in this scene that I think are crucial to the entire season.
Oh yeah, big things.
What's the first thing that happens?
Yep. Well, Picard comes in, and Vadic is taunting. He's like, "Oh, okay, so you're basically going to play good cop, bad cop," and Picard, has his ideas of what they're trying to do. You're going to try to make a doppelganger of me, and Picard and Beverly demand to know, what Vadic wants with Jack, and she's just basically it doesn't have anything to do with me. which threw me for a loop.
What about your son? Do you know all about his physiology?
What do you want with Jack?
Me, nothing.
Answer the question.
He's not for me. We could bond over that, since he was never really for you either.
What the hell does that mean?
Yeah, she's like I said in the beginning, she's just a hired hand, so to speak. She's just a messenger. Now, she likes it. She's a mercenary that likes her job because, she starts to realize, look, Jack is not for me. But she says, Jack's not for you either, which is like, wait, what?
Yep.
Is this really her son? Did Beverly really have this child?
Do not compare the atrocities committed by your side to the warfare executed by mine.
There never would have been a war had the Changelings not initiated it.
Necessity. Solids like you were coming, and you ruin every world you touch.
And so, Picard acknowledges the travesties of the Dominion War, which really upsets Vadic, because Vadic goes off. And she blasts Picard, for his version of history. And as we know, history is always, told by the winners.
Written by the winners.
Written by the winners. And there's always, more to history than the story that's printed. As as we deal with American history, when you talk about, just say, for instance, Native Americans, that they're the people that were going around killing settlers. But then you find out later on when you go to higher levels of history that 263 treaties were broken with them. So then that puts context in. So we're about to have one of those contextual moments.
And I think it's important because while again, I go back to canon and Roddenberry's vision. Star Trek is a peacekeeping armada. You can't, and I think you made this point. You can't have hundreds and hundreds of thousands of members of an organization and not have bad apples making really stupid decisions. Humanity is fraught with that, and so with this Section 31, it all comes to light that Vadic was part of a really horrible experiment. And these changelings, for better or for worse, were brought about. These the ones who were able to mimic everything inside and out were brought about by the experiments themselves. Starfleet did it.
Yep, and I just thought that was brilliant. Starfleet is basically dealing with the mess that they created. They created it. What they created is being inflicted upon them.
How will you feel when she dies for you, Solid?
The battle is going. The force fields are protecting. Let me start that one over.
Sidney and Jack.
Yeah. I'm gonna start that one over. So we find with Laura in control, the force fields protecting Jack and Sidney, tLaForges are about to come down, and they can't be beamed to safety, and so. One of the soldiers asks Jack how he will feel when Sidney dies for him. And you see Jack power up.
Yep, the red eyes. And Jack can once again hear Sidney. She's like, why is he staring me down? Now, this is a tool every man wishes he had with his woman. So, we could hear our woman's voice in her monologue. But he's got it. And it's creepy because she's looking at him like, what's going on with this guy?
Oh, yeah. And so what plays out now is just like a rapid cutting between different scenes, different places on the ship, and we get more of the explanation of what happened with Vadic.
But during my time as a prisoner of war, I learned a great many things about solids. Daystrom Station was my captive home during the war.
And so they were taken as prisoners of war. They were experimented on at Daystrom Station, of all places, and it was part of Project Proteus. And so I start feeling for Vadic. My God, they were tortured and experimented on painfully.
Yeah. And like I said, like we both said before, history is written by the winners, but the losers of whatever battle have a story too, and we're finally seeing this, and it's heartbreaking. And what's interesting is when we're showing this scene of her and her friends basically just being tortured, the torturer is the face of Vadic. It's a doctor, and she takes the face of her own torturer, which is just incredible. What a interesting twist.
Yeah, and she was the one that whistled 3 Blind Mice all the time. So you
yes,
can see where it all
during
comes
the torture.
from.
It all comes back.
Yeah, and so they were engineered to be spies, and more irony. They're doing exactly that, but against the Federation. So
incredible.
It's really a big lesson, and the chickens are coming home to roost.
And in a lot of ways, I mean, she even talks about how Beverly had kept her son from Picard. Like there's just a lot of terrible choices that people do to each other to hurt each other, and everyone is capable of hurting another person. It's a lot of huge themes here in this one.
I mean, I just thought the scene, was just brilliant, and it brought home a lot of thought-provoking things, and that was amazing. It was amazing. I was just like, wow.
Yep, I agree. So,
so Vadic basically declares the Federation took her family, and she's going to take theirs. So basically, hurt people. Yeah, I think it's the theme here.
Data, I know you're in there, so I need you to listen to me because life rarely gives you second chances to say what you should. Okay? Data, you made me better. You did. You made me a better man, a better father, a better friend.
Agreed. So as the barriers protecting Sidney and Jack are about to fall down, here comes a scene where a couple of sequences where LeVar Burton begins to really shine in this episode. It starts with him saying, Lorik, please keep the screens up. Don't do this. And Laura's telling Geordi that Data can't fight him and that he's gone. Data's gone. Ha ha ha. And it's scary because they're separated between these panes of glass, and Geordi can't even shake him loose or anything. It's sad.
Are you and I so fundamentally changed that we're willing to compromise everything that we've believed in?
Yes, I think I'm losing my compass.
Meanwhile, Picard and Beverly are having their own talk about, I think we need to eliminate Vadic.
Yeah, and it's an interesting scene because they're both like, what does this mean for, our morals, our, the way we've lived our lives, and it means that, they're going to have to take lives and do the same thing that they did in the beginning with the Dominion to save their own. What does that mean in the bigger scheme of things?
Yeah, it's a really good question.
Human nature, pal. Allow me to level the playing field. The enemy of my enemy is... you know the rest.
No. He's got full control of the ship.
Captain, we're losing control of our ship's security system.
Get the force fields back now.
And so we go back to Lore, and Lore in the simplest terms explains, what this is all about. And I thought this was really, really good. It's about survival. And that's survival for the Changelings, survival for the Federation, survival for Data, survival for Lore. And I think that really symbolizes everything. I loved it.
Yeah, and I think he even says it's human nature, which is interesting. Like, Lore is so human in that way. And everybody, all the Federation people are just kind of getting bitch slapped by the reality that, hey, it's not just about the Federation. Everybody wants to survive. And I think that that's just an interesting way to do it.
Yeah, very good. But in true Lore fashion, he decides to level the playing field and lowers all of the force fields.
Yeah, he's what a jerk. So when that happens, Picard and Beverly have to react quickly, and they start firing on the puddle that was Vadic. And I'm interested because when it takes a shape, you can kill it, but when it's in puddle form, you can't.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm a little. I don't quite understand when phasers disintegrate versus when they don't. So I don't know. I don't know. what the rules are when it comes to that. But but yeah.
Sidney! God damn it, Lord, let her go!
Jack, what should I do? Jack!
Turn around.
So, the force fields go down between that surround Jack and Sidney, and it's on. They are having a hand-to-hand combat. I mean, brutal combat.
Yeah.
I mean, Sidney's trying, but she's getting thrown around like a rag doll.
Yeah, the guy's twice her size, right? So Jack is able to kill one of them, and Sidney's just being drug off by the other. She's thrown to the ground, and the guy's about to finish her off, and Jack can hear Sidney's voice, like,
what do I do?
What do I do? What do I do? And what does Jack do?
Jack takes control of her body.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was a trip. It was like a third-person video game. It's like he was making the moves, and she simultaneously makes the moves.
Yeah, and she just gets up and just starts, doing what he did, which is this, UFC heavy combat. And we quickly cut to Geordi, who's watching all of this, and he's just begging Data to come back and take control of Lauren, please, 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 because he's watching his daughter, her life being threatened.
Yeah, and as a father, I'd feel the same way. I mean, my God, either one of us would see our kids in that situation, and it would be excruciating for us. We would beg, plead, or do whatever to save them.
Was that you in my head?
It's me. Jack, please. You have to trust me.
And so Sidney is shocked after she kills one of the soldiers, and then she points the phaser at him. He's like, listen, you got to trust me. Jack's like, you got to trust me. And so they run off.
She's like, I don't know if I can. You were inside me, but, I mean, in a metaphorical sense, of course.
Yeah.
So Data finally wrestles control back. And, wait, what is this? Oh, and lets down the field between the two of them. And Sidney is just shocked by that.
Yep.
Forget it. That's out of order. Forget that.
Yeah, we can just move on because
I'll move on.
All right.
Okay.
So the good thing is that Vadic did reveal when in their conversation what the project was. It's Project Proteus. And so Beverly, does, some digging through the files thanks to Data, lore, and they ID'd the main element that was used in the experiments, and so that allows them to track, everyone, all of the changelings on the ship.
Right, which I love. They didn't do this in one episode. This was several episodes in the making of trying to find them. I love how they've laid everything out. They obviously planned this very well for the 10 episodes and laid everything out.
Yeah, and it's not corny. It's not one of those, in the last 2 seconds of the show, just stick this plug in the trifecta inducer.
Deus
and
Ex Machina.
Yeah, they didn't do that.
Open tunnel lift!
Lift deck 9. Lift deck 8.
They take the bridge?
Not taking the bridge.
They're here. Weapons ready.
Shaw and company are engaging in a battle in one of the corridors. I mean, this is some of the best, in-ship, on-ship battles I've ever seen. I mean, it was great. They were just really going at it.
They are, and it's dark and scary. They look like caverns. They don't look like corridors. The music's really pumping. And it's great until Shaw gets captured, which that was a bummer. Yeah, and he runs, thrown into the turbo lift.
Yeah, because they were trying to stop Vadic from getting on the turbo lift to go to the bridge. We're trying to protect the bridge. So, Seven, and the bridge crew get ready to draw their weapons because it's a battle for the bridge. It's like, he's not taking the bridge, but they get overwhelmed. Vadic takes the bridge.
Yeah, I mean, the first thing we see is Shaw comes out and he's bloodied and he falls to the ground, and then the all of a sudden there's more crew members for Vadic. They must have come over from the strike or something suddenly, because it seemed like they were killing everybody, but no, they all show up, and she just kind of takes this slow, swinging her dick around victory lap around the bridge, like it's mine now.
Attention, crew of the Titan. You've proven yourselves worthy, I suppose. I am Vadic. Captain of the USS Titan. Jack, my dear, if you can hear me, it's time you learned who you truly are.
I'm the captain, and she makes this ship-wide, address to everyone. This is Captain Vadic of the
USS Titan.
Wow.
I mean, that was just a trip. It was sad because it was just like, that's the ultimate insult. When you're defeated
Absolutely.
and somebody takes command of your ship in a way like that.
Yeah. So while this is happening, luckily Jack and Sidney make it to sickbay, and they're like, we've got to do something. What the hell are we going to do? They meet up with Picard and Beverly.
Yeah, there's got to be a plan. Something's going to come out of this because clearly there's still people running around all on the ship. I mean, Starfleet officers and things like that. So I'm sure that's going to play out next week. So, yeah, like we said, Vadic declares herself the captain of the USS Titan, and she's on the, during her shipwide, and she tells Jack that it's time for him to know who he truly is. And that's our cliffhanger.
We go to black. And I think all of us feel that way. Like, we all want to know who Jack truly is. So are we placing bets this week, you and I?
Yeah. We, I can't really place a bet because I'm just like, everything's been undermined. I thought it was totally connected to the Borg tech, and it may be something completely different.
Well, where have we seen in Star Trek history red eyes and telekinesis? Have we ever seen that?
Yeah, various aliens have had abilities, but not something just dead spot on.
Yeah, I'm perplexed because before I swore it was all Borg stuff. Picard passed some nanobots, along the way, if you catch my drift, and but this is more Cylon technology than Borg to me.
Right.
Cylons could reproduce, and they had the ability to kind of have telekinesis, but I don't know.
I don't know.
We'll have to find out. I love not knowing.
Yeah. I mean, this is a better way to go. Keep me on the edge of my seat all the way to the bitter end. So let's do it. So
let's hope it's not a bitter end.
Oh yeah, not to the bitter end, but I think next week we'll know who Jack is.
So, okay, episode 7 was incredible. Probably my favorite one so far, but there were definitely some moments that deserve recognition, for sure.
Appealing to my brother's memories of friendship. Very powerful.
What do you want, Lord?
No more than you want for your children. Nothing more than these changelings want. Survival. Human nature, pal.
Yeah, for me, it was because Data and Geordi were my favorites by far. That moment where Geordi is crying and saying to Lore, please let my friend come out. Data, please show me who you are. And the fact that it works. But just LeVar Burton's moment in, his tear, I felt every bit of it. I just loved it. It just touched me so much.
Would you like to hear more about where my appetite for your brutal, inevitable extinction comes from? I got it from Starfleet. You gave me the ability to mimic your blood, hold my form, pass every test.
Okay. Mine was Vadic's big reveal. I just thought that it was really, really good because it posed a lot of moral dilemmas and really brought home, how an organization can go rogue. There are always elements that are doing the wrong thing, independent of maybe the broader organization that's doing the right thing. And it also, Vadic paralleled it to what Beverly did to Picard, and I just thought that was amazing.
Yeah, I agree. I think that this episode was it was really emotional, and it landed for sure.
That concludes this episode of the Star Trek Picard edition of Energize.
So for more, go to our website, www.energizepodcasts.com. And don't forget, my book is now available on Amazon, The Deletion, book 1 of the Mindset Chronicles. Go to Amazon, pick it up.
Thanks for listening. I'm Anthony McLemore.
I'm Steve Truitt. Live long and prosper.
You confuse morality with duty, and that, Admiral, is your dishonor.
I believed in you.
Only when it was easy for you. If I meant so much, you would have understood.
You broke my heart.
And you broke mine.
I should tell you that I have already contacted Starfleet, and they're on their way. Oh, and as a courtesy, because of the harrowing ordeal that we all survived together, I'm gonna step outside so the three of you can get your bullshit story straight.